On the last episode of Dialogues in Multiple Myeloma, Donna shared strategies for staying physically active throughout treatment. In this episode, Donna shares more self-care tips, this time focusing on her mental health journey.
Hi, I'm Donna, and I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma in 2012 in May. Some of the questions that I asked myself when I was first diagnosed with multiple myeloma were things like, why me? I was in such good shape. I was running. I was having green smoothies for breakfast. I would sometimes get in a dark place where I would say, what is the point of staying active? If I'm, if my life is going to end shortly anyhow, why not just sit on the couch and eat cake? In order to maintain a positive outlook, I knew that I didn't want to sit on a couch and eat cake because both of those were short-term gains, but the rest of the day I was going to feel worse. What I wanted was that sustained feeling of joy, of happiness. So the most important thing for me, and this is just because of who I am, is to exercise because I need the endorphins. So this is odd because I'm saying exercise actually helps your mental health, but it does. Another thing I like to do is walk in nature. It can be on a greenway, it can be in the woods. And part of my everyday existence is noticing what's around me. It amazes me that so many people don't do that. When they're walking, they're looking straight ahead. I used to have a dog named Bo, and when she ran, unlike other dogs who had their nose down to the ground, she was always looking around. And I like to pretend she was living fully. So I always said, live like Bo. She was probably just looking for squirrels. But so when I go for a walk, I'm aware of everything. And hopefully I'm aware of the stump or rock I'm about to stumble over. But I will notice a beautiful leaf on the ground. If I notice a wildflower, I'll take a picture of it and blow it up because you would be amazed at the intricacies of flowers that you can't see with the naked eye. I walked into, what do you call it, a farmer's market one time. And I just looked around and I stopped and I'm like, whoa, the colors in a farmer's market, the reds, greens, yellows, the flowers. It's totally amazing. When you stop and think about it, you're like, how lucky are we to live where we can just walk in a store? You can see it in a well laid out produce section as well. The other day I was walking with a friend, and of course I'm living like Bo, looking all around. And I looked up at the sky. The sky was this deep, beautiful blue, and the clouds were big, fluffy clouds. And I'm like, wow, look at the sky. And the person I was walking with said, wow, that's really nice. But they didn't look there on their own. That's the kind of thing that really helps you keep a positive mindset, staying in the moment, noticing all the beauty that's around you and noticing things with every sense. The smell of flowers, the smell of rain, the smell of wet earth. I love that. After my first stem cell transplant, I lost my sense of smell. I did get a lot of it back. But the sound of birds, a friend of mine, I was complaining to her because I went outside in my yard and crows were like cawing. And I wanted to hear the music of the songbirds. And she said, just listen for the songbirds and shut off the crows. And I was able to do that. So now if I do hear crows, I listen in the background for the songbirds. You can't always be outside. You can't always be in a produce market. Sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and your brain starts playing a tape that you don't want to listen to. And what I've discovered works for me then is to think about how soft the bed sheets feel on my skin, how warm I feel. I like to keep my room cold, winter and summer, because then the blanket is so warming and feels so wonderful. The fact that I don't have to get up, that I can just sleep and enjoy this. And if I'm in a tent, which I have done, listening to the sounds of outside, or if it's the right temperature, just opening my window and listening to the sound of crickets and tree frogs and all of that stuff. In addition to those sorts of things, I also think it's important. I tend to spend a lot of time alone because I'm a bit of a loner, I guess. But that's not healthy. You need to be with people, and there's a lot of reasons for it. Um, but it gets you out of your own head. When you're with other people, you're focusing on them, and you need to focus on them. You need to ask about them and see what's happening in their lives. And you can do that with total strangers. You can go to a festival and be around people. And I'll notice that sometimes I don't want to do it. I just want to stay at home and, you know, be away from all the noise of the world. But I force myself to go out. And when I come home, I feel so much better as a result. This weekend, I just went to see the giant trolls at a park near me, and it was amazing. And I went there with my granddaughter, and so I got to experience it through her eyes as well. And two last things that I think are important. A few years ago, I was in the middle of a 3-year treatment. It lasted for 3 years before it stopped working. And what it meant was every week I went to Duke, and I would go to oncology. I would be feeling great when I got there because I hadn't had chemo in a week. So it was my best day, and I had to spend it in the chair. And then I would get chemo, and the next couple of days I'd be nauseous. And I basically had 2 days of normalcy where I wasn't in infusion. And I wanted a third day where I got to enjoy my life. And so I thought about it, and this is my strongest day. It's been the longest time since I had chemo. So what I would do is schedule my appointments later in the afternoon, and I would arrive 2 hours early, park my car, and then walk to Duke Gardens and explore the entire garden, taking pictures of anything beautiful I saw, flowers, pathways through the trees, whatever I saw. I would also bring a lunch, and I would either have my lunch in one of the structures. They have beautiful structures at this garden, like a pavilion or pergola or something, or just a stone chair. And I would have my lunch there. And I would also bring a cloth, a picnic cloth, I guess, that was, you could just put on the ground. You could do whatever you wanted. Sometimes I'd have my lunch there, but sometimes I would do yoga in the park. I don't care what it looked like. And so you're in this gorgeous setting doing yoga. And so I had a timer, and when I knew I had to start getting back to the infusion center, I would just take off, and I'd walk in and I'd see the receptionist, and I'm like, look at all the photos I took of the flowers. And that's how I walked in. I was so happy. And when I looked at that day, when I looked back at it, that was an infusion day. That was my Duke Gardens day. Before CAR T, I felt I questioned whether this was the life I wanted to be living. It was fine in the beginning, and realize I've run marathons, but I've never done an ultra marathon. And my treatments were beginning to feel like an ultra marathon. I was tired of always feeling sick to my stomach, of having so little freedom to go anywhere or do anything, of feeling nauseous so much in my life. So mentally, I was not in a good place. But I knew what CAR T can do because I'd had one before. It didn't last as long. And I knew that CAR T just gave you your entire life back. And so now, instead of just looking forward to those 2 days where I would feel better, or looking forward to that 1 week that I had off, I wake up every day, and every day is possibilities for things I can do. Now, sometimes those things mean taking the car in and getting the oil changed, but but actually, when I get my oil changed, I go to my gym, which is next door. So, or I'll take a walk in the woods, or in any neighborhood I could find. But every day is a good day. Now, oh, that reminds me of something a good windsurfing instructor once said. He used to say, every day of windsurfing is a good day of windsurfing. And what he meant by that is the wind might not be great, but you're out there windsurfing. And I looked at that and I said, you know what? Every day of living is a good day of living. And it is, if you have that attitude, if you use those tricks to really get you back in the moment and think about what's good in that moment. And I've been saying this for years, long before I got multiple myeloma. If every moment in your life is as good as it can be, when you look back on your life, what was your life? It was a good life.
Stay tuned for more episodes of Dialogues in Multiple Myeloma.